based off of this pseudoscience. Based solely on the scientific concepts of eugenics. It's still happening, according to the National Archives. The term eugenics was coined by a British natural scientist and explorer named Francis Galton in the year of 1883. Now, there are two sides to every coin, so I'll be sure to flip each side over, and I'm not theoretically speaking here. Yep. Eugenics was implemented to help improve one selected group of people and their future generations to come, to overtake and oversee yet another set group of people and their future generations by way of extermination of their mindsets. This rabbit hole goes much deeper than one may assume. Allow me to simplify the explanation of this paramount method utilized by the likes of your industrialized institutions throughout America, still to this very day. Eugenics literally changes everything that any person was ever taught of or even thought of previously before this selection was carried out upon him or her. According to Francis Galton, y'all saw that?
Were you recently injured in a car accident? Look at this check for $160,000.
Look closely. Even in their book, they were saying that's an Afrikaans. Afrikaanski. Look what come next. Taught of or even thought of previously before this selection was carried out upon him or her. Look. Two separate people. Uh-oh. Dane, no. They was talking about the same people. All Africans. We all Africans, Dane. Their own pseudoscience debunks that. You better stop playing with me. According to Francis Galton himself, this system would allow, quote, more suitable races or strains of blood a better chance of prevailing speedily over the less suitable. This was racism. Galton was heavily influenced by the likes of an English naturalist, biologist, and the first ever self-proclaimed documented bigoted genealogist, Charles Darwin. Yeah, I know who that is. Darwin single-handedly developed the controversial theory of human evolution, which was his belief that man came from monkeys, and then his system of natural selection. And still, y'all still have not seen a monkey turn into a human. You was holding up these idiots so high, and you forgot to think logically. You have never seen a monkey turn into a human. Because if it happened back then, it will be happening right now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But no, Dane, we came from Africa. All man came from monkeys. We went, and you sound silly. To us people that know better, think. Which included a heavy flux of racial derogatory. It was always
since 1859, that's when Charles Darwin introduced Origin of Species by natural selection and the favored human races. Did you know that today they only report half the title that Charles Darwin wrote? His title had to do with favored human races, assigning supremacy to the Aryan race, all others being inferior. How many knew that? Only a handful. His book was racist, and that was the basic purpose for writing it.
During the early 1900s, the social engineering aspect of Darwin's theory became popular worldwide amongst many scientists alike, high-ranking politicians, and it even caught the eye of the elitists. More about this in the second installment concerning this topic. But I mentioned all of this to inform you that they played a prominent role in elevating the advancement of eugenics, specifically for the sake of their own race. They're gonna book right there. This was for the benefit of all humanity at a cost of whatever they desire. They were religiously following this formula or rule, dubbing it as survival of the fittest. You remember this? In other words, Charles Darwin's theory of human evolution was merely a way to elevate and escalate the implementation of white supremacy and to eradicate those who were of non-pale complexions, deeming it as survival of the fittest, where those who did not meet their racist criteria, motives, and agendas would suffer from a variety of forms of propaganda that was hypothesized to eliminate the opposing race of people. Eugenics is literally a modernized pseudoscience that was based merely on look at all the visuals, racial discrimination and environmental injustice, socially, physically, and mentally, but became prosperous still due to its popularity of praises from those who gravitated towards inequality and racial estrangement. Hold up, wait, Dane. Past Dane, this is future Dane. I gotta rewind that back. Number one, this is one of many eugenics buildings. This particular family was the governor's trophy, deemed as the fittest family. Y'all, let's get real deep. Let me play that part one more time. Deeming it as survival of the fittest, where those who did not meet their racist criteria, motives, and agendas would suffer from a variety of forms of propaganda that was hypothesized to eliminate the opposing race of people. Eugenics is literally a modernized pseudoscience. Meanwhile, our people are excelling in all sport. That was based merely on racial discrimination and environmental injustice, socially, physically, and mentally, but became prosperous still due to its popularity of praises from those who gravitated towards inequality and racial estrangement. On the date of September 25th, 2008, in a statement made before the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs by Representative James P. Morin, on the grounds of the Thomasina E. Jordan Indian Tribes of Virginia Federal Recognition Act, Morin stated, quote, "This is a travesty that this committee can correct. The second unique circumstance for the Virginia tribes is what they experienced at the hands of the state government during the first half of the 20th century. It has been called a paper genocide, at a time when the federal government granted Native Americans the right to vote. Virginia's elected officials adopted racially hostile laws targeted at those classes of people who did not fit into the dominant white society. The fact that some of Virginia's ruling elite claimed to be blood descendants of Pocahontas, in their view, meant that no one else in Virginia can make a claim they were Native American and a descendant of Pocahontas's people. To do so would mean that Virginia's ruling elite were what they decreed all non-whites to be, part of the inferior Negroid race." Stop! Hold up. That was a lot. Screenshot this, y'all. Oh, let me get rid of that bar real quick. Screenshot it. Of course, this was recent because he used the terms Native American. I think, let me not go too far because I think I pointed that out. I'm sure I did. Of course. Because when it comes to Native Americans having the right to vote, they never received it. Number one, because there was no legislation indicating that Native Americans had the right to vote. That term, don't forget that. That term. But yeah, screenshot that now. Everybody else will be part of the inferior Negroid race. That's eugenics right then and there. He was exposing it, right? He wasn't the only one. It was multiple people inside of the government, including Donald Trump, by the way. I know some Trumpers out there. I'm not a Trumper. I'm not a Democrat nor a Republican. Don't get it twisted. But I know some Trumpers out there that look. Well, you know what? You don't look like Indians to me. Now, if you look, sir. I've been around some great people. They're beautiful people. The Indians are great people, but when you go up to Connecticut, they don't look like Indians to me, sir. With great hypocrisy. I'm going to come back to that. Virginia's ruling elite pushed politics that culminated with the enactment of the Racial Integrity Act of 1924. Hold up. That same year, 1924, was also the Indian Citizenship Act. Now, some of y'all may not be familiar with the Racial Integrity Act of 1924, but, oh, no, he does mention it, Walter Plecker. Matter of fact, I go into it in a second when I'm jumping ahead. Hold on, I'm jumping ahead. Well, I'm going to come back to that. This act directed state officials and zealots like Walter Plecker to destroy state and local courthouse records and reclassify in Orwellian fashion all non-whites as colored. Stop. The reason why that's important is because a Native American won't be able to prove that they were classified as colored. Listen, we are the only people who were classified as... Are y'all listening? We were the only people who were classified as colored. Not only by the Racial Integrity Act of 1924, by way of the Virginia Assembly, that streamlined, that happened in every state. Walter Plecker was the head of the vital statistics in Virginia. They listened to his proposal and went along with it. Like, wait a minute, yeah, let's get rid of these records. Then you won't ever find what happened. Not all of them were burnt. Not all of them were removed. By the way, the Latter-day Saints does have a lot of our records inside of a cave in Utah that has a metal door that can withstand a nuclear bomb. They do have that. Okay, they have the majority of the records from that year, but they force you to become a Mormon in order to access them. See, this is another reason why church is state, state is church. They're one and the same. They work together. By the way, the same Mormons or Latter-day Saints that has those records, do you know they're the owners of genealogydna.com? I'm gonna let it sink in. Not only do they have your records, you did not tell them, you did not grant them permission to have your ancestors' records. They took it. And they're gonna make you pay for it twice, by the way. One, you gotta become a Mormon to get direct access to those records. Two, they want you to do your ancestry DNA on a website that they co-own. More money in their pocket, huh? It's for profit. Meanwhile, they got to be classified a 501c3, and they don't got to pay no tax. But wait a minute, the Indians was not taxed, so they flipped the script. All the benefits that our people were supposed to be receiving, they got. Now do you see the fight? It ain't over with. That's just the speck of it. It targeted Native Americans with a vengeance, denying Native Americans in Virginia their identity. To call yourself a Native American in Virginia was to risk a jail sentence of up to 1 year. End quote. Now, in this statement, that's another thing. A lot of our elders knew that. Like when you talk to your elders who were born in the 1920s, 1930s, they're going to tell you in the 1940s that they were not, in the 1950s, that they were being hung They were being killed. They were being arrested for claiming that they were Indian. So a lot of them were quiet. A lot of them went through a lot of trauma. So when you do decide to have conversations with those elders, okay, get them comfortable. I mean, if they already comfortable, fine, go in. But get them comfortable. If they experience trauma and they don't want to bring that stuff up for real, let grandma and granddad know that you understand. If they start crying, give them a hug. Let them know it's okay. Grandma, granddad, I know what happened now. I finally figured it out. Because she gonna thank the creator that the curse, y'all finished that. He used the term Native American. But the truth is that our identities were changed not from Native American, but from Indian to color. And they were not only jailing people in Virginia for claiming their true identity, but they were also killing them by hanging them from a tree and in more ways than one that I won't mention. In each state across North America, the biggest bigoted, racist, white supremacist of them all was none other than Walter Ashby Plecker.
When it's time to start your business, it's time for Shopify. Get everything you need.
This is what I've been telling y'all.
To legendary.
And now, Dane Calloway is saying the same.
The Plecker era was truly one of the darkest times for Native people in Virginia. But I think it's critical for us to think about what was the genesis of the ideology that Plecker was a proponent of. And it's really the eugenics movement. The eugenics movement was a pseudo-scientific movement. We say pseudo-scientific today because we find that the science that they were proposing is not what we today would honor as scientific in any way.
And this is coming from a woman that has her doctorate degree and works at the College of William and Mary at the Department of Anthropology. You talking about credibility? The College of William and Mary was one of the first colleges that those foreigners created. Not only does she have her PhD, she's at the Department of Anthropology on camera telling you that was pseudoscience and it was racist. It was stolen identity, and you think this ain't no lawsuit right here, bro? Y'all want to fight for reparations, but y'all was fighting for the wrong reasons. Yeah, we are owed way more than what you think. But it wasn't about them capturing an anonymous group of people from one landmass and then forcing them over here. They had no idea about this landmass at that time. They were unfamiliar with these territories. They knew once you saw one Indian, here come more. They were afraid. There's so many wars that are documented that you never heard of, you wouldn't believe. Because they didn't win them all. Look, by the way, here's proof. We're still here. They couldn't get rid of us.
That part.
The indigenous people are still here.
That part, we're still here.
They couldn't get rid of us. They can't. They try everything. They poison your food, poison your water, poison your toothpaste, poison your hair, poison your booty cheeks with that BBL. Y'all need to stop that. A whole bunch more. Inserting all that stuff into your bloodstream. They want to cut your bloodline off. It's impossible because we outnumber them. That's another reason why we know that they're lying about the numbers. Because they're classifying everybody who was foreign as white. no matter their skin complexion. That manipulated the numbers as far as the U.S. Census is concerned with the classification of white. When they're referring to white, they're not referring to white people. There's no such thing as black and white people. We got to get over this.
Haven't I been telling you guys that? Feathers up, feathers up, feathers up.
The term black was derogatory in the 1950s. Then somehow it became politically correct in the 1960s. 1967, y'all was black and proud.
After they forced
1964, the
James
Black Panther
Brown to
movement.
sing that song.
Ooh, we got some work to do. Martin Luther King himself told you that came with a negative connotation, and nobody listened. You know why? Because Martin Luther King had a certain group of people at attention, but not those vulnerable college students that didn't experience racism and put on demonstrations to cause confusion, to desegregate. We didn't need that. We lost everything as soon as we did that. When you hear desegregation, I want you to think of the term disenfranchisement. That's exactly what happened to us. And all of those people back then could attest to that. All of those elders of that time period was forewarning those college and university students not to sign up to become registered voters with the Democrat Party. Don't join their political organizations. They're going to lose it all. And they did. They lost their houses. They lost their farms. They lost their lands. They lost their jobs. They lost their loans. They lost their crops. They lost everything that they owned. Because our people at that time period made a foolish mistake, and that needs to be known. See, I can state that because I'm younger and I did my research. A lot of those people that claim that they're of the conscious community are of that age and came from that era. They're not used to going further into the research and not just regurgitating information that they heard from other people.
I started this business in the closet of my mom's house.
So you hear
now
it.
we've been able to
Debunking
grow into
the
over
lies.
500 retailers.
Providing
I've been on
receipts,
Shopify since the very beginning. There's a bunch.
I came into this not having a master teacher. The only person that I would consider my master teacher is my grandfather. He is the only person that will be considered my master teacher. He's the one that got me to where I am today. Boots on the ground. A lot of those people that you see of the conscious community are grifting. They just want your money. I'm not doing nothing until you donate. Come to this church. I'ma make a school. Meanwhile, they talking about white supremacy this and white supremacy that, and a school or a museum or all this stuff is going to solve that? No, it's not. Because you're purposely not attempting to get to the root of the problem. And I'm telling you the root of the problem. Number one was stolen land. Number two, stolen identity. Number three, stolen spirituality. Number four, stolen traditions. Number five, stolen history. Number six, stolen culture. That goes from the way we eat, to what we cooked, to what we wore as attire. Not just headdresses and feathers and leather jackets. I'm talking about to the dyes on your clothing. It all came from here, from our ancestors. Not only were we the creators of the dyes, we were also the blacksmiths. is that, Dane? The ones that created the swords, the weapons, the guns, the gunpowder. Every single country came over here. Why you think they wanted, I'm talking about the foreigners, wanted control of the trade so much? Don't forget, they have its own department, commerce and trade. That was one of the first departments that they created, right along with the War Department, right along with the Continental Congress. Commerce and trade. They needed control of the waterways. Once you control the waterways, you control the land. That's upper and lower Mississippi. The Mississippi River connects to all areas in North America, in South America, in Central America, and other places, the surrounding islands. That's the route that they took. It's impossible for them to come through the Atlantic or the Pacific. When there's ocean gyres there, they will be lost at sea. The next best thing for them to do is to go through the Mississippi River. I told you that. I told you to go get the book Life on the Mississippi River by Mark Twain. They redid that book multiple times. I told you to get the original, hurry up before they get rid of it. That guy tweeted me, Dane, you wouldn't believe how much this book costs. $16,000 once I put that information out there. When I put something out there and I tell you to go get it, I need you to do that within 24 hours. I'm not kidding. They will either try to erase it off the internet where you can't get to it, or raise the prices up, especially for something physical that you have to purchase. You have to move quick when I tell you to get something. Because once I put it up, we talking 80 to 100,000 people or more watched it in one day. And we know there's a lot of people out there that love, to listen to information, but there's also people out there that want to suppress information. And it doesn't matter the skin complexion. The enemy has no set skin complexion. The enemy comes in various skin complexions. TikTok, you learning me today, ain't you? Wow, I didn't know Dane was that type of person.
Don't be surprised if TikTok bans him like they banned me. Screw TikTok.
The eugenics movement has a direct link to the descendants of Charles Darwin. They somehow made the leap to these notions about racial purity. What is best for each race is racial purity. Plecker and his friends convinced the Virginia legislature to adopt very restrictive legislation in 1924. It's called the Racial Integrity Act. With this legislation, it was decreed that there were only two possible categories. One is white, which means a person you check that you're white if you have white ancestry, Caucasian ancestry, and absolutely nothing else. The other category is everybody else, and that's colored.
Stop.
Holiday. I'm letting another grown man tell me when I can be at
Now
my kid's
you
birthday.
heard
I
that
was
for
skeptical in the
yourself,
beginning
okay?
too, but
So it's paper genocide. We was always here. Now we're debunking a lie
Take notes.
and providing.
The best teacher you wished you had in school. Have your pens and paper handy and get ready to take notes. Take notes. Take notes.
this man is unstoppable.
It's Dane Calloway.
Bunking the lies.
White ancestry, Caucasian ancestry, and absolutely nothing else. The other category is everybody else, and that's colored. So this was very hard on Virginia's indigenous community because, in a sense, it wipes away their identity. Their identity on paper, their ability to describe themselves as Indian
Look like
was
my
not
cousin.
possible.
Oh my
To
God.
describe themselves as Indian was not possible.
Keep in mind that our elder family members' birth certificates were changed multiple times to state colored, Negro, mulatto, and now Black or African American as their classifications of racial identity by way of the federal government systematically. So, the moral of this segment is that you have been lied to by your government, your president and politicians, your news media, your school teachers, college and university professors, your public school history curriculums, multiple out of Africa theory books, and even by the very people that share the same hue as you and I. And that's a
Especially
whole
him.
nother story within itself. Now, I challenge each and every one of you to seriously research your mother or your grandmother or your great-grandmother's birth certificates right now. And if it has the letter C or COL dot or color and every other misclassified title of race created by the government that I just mentioned, then at that moment, you will know the absolute truth about who you really are.
Set it off. We come with receipts, debunking the lies. Yes. It's time for us to have our class action suit and sue.
Y'all want some more?
Oh, yeah.
We're just getting warmed up. I could do part 2.
Okay. So
Y'all
you
want
see
part
it for
2?
yourself. Okay.
Y'all need to understand
I'm going
what
to come
happened to
back
our
with
people
part
now.
2 because
This
Dan
is not
Calloway,
a
Crew
game.
Meal, Drop Nation, they have been telling the truth, debunking the lies, Origine Sounds, Earth Speaks. There's a lot of them on Maya Sun. There's numerous. Chief Thomas Iskatani had a push kick knee talk on me. Feathers up, feathers up. Woo, 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 woo. Chief Eli. So everything that I showed you on my last video with Walter Pleckler, Alex Idris, Dan Calloway has just confirmed everything I was saying. Okay? So when y'all come on my page calling me this, calling me that, the truth is unstoppable. We was always here. This is our land. We're not going nowhere. And we're taking a class action suit to the Supreme Court to get all the billions of dollars that they gave to the fake $5 Indians that's calling themselves Native Americans. That's from Siberia and Asia. And I will come back with part 2. I'm going to let this marinate for y'all. And I'll be back because I'm going to show y'all the truth because the truth will set you free. And we was always here. And we know now. Peace.